Hi, welcome to another edition of Jet Setting. Paul Friesen here with the Winnipeg Sun, joined by Scott Billeck. And Scott, we got some news to grind through today, and that is Captain Blake Wheeler of the Jets out indefinitely with a concussion after that flying elbow by Brady Tkachuk of the Ottawa Senators on Monday.
Yeah.
Remember at the time when it happened, we were kind of debating up in the press box the seriousness of it. You were saying Wheeler should probably be in the quiet room and going through some protocol. I thought it was a glancing blow based on that abrasion he showed there beside his eye. We found out from Paul Maurice today that was a visor abrasion, and that it was obviously a pretty solid hit because he came into practice today and wasn't feeling right. So the Jets leave town for Montreal without him. Play Thursday in Montreal without him. His first game in almost 200 that he's missed. His first in way more than that he's been injured.
Yep.
So first the hit. I guess you were right. It was a more serious elbow than we thought.
Well, and I don't know if at the time I was debating whether or not he should have gone, like you said, kind of gone into protocol and got checked out. It's that stuff's all up to a spotter, and they have the medical opinion and all of that. And so if perhaps they didn't see it. My opinion is if you get a blow to the head, you should be going to check because. But at the same time, it's likely that Wheeler probably wouldn't have had any issues. If he wasn't feeling it then, the spotter obviously didn't see it. He might have got cleared anyways to go back.
Yeah.
Obviously, and I'm of the opinion that glancing blows sometimes are the worst because of the fact that, they're just sudden. You don't expect them. And I understand you don't expect a big hit either sometimes, but, it's just those little ones that just catch you that seem to get you. But anyways, this one got Blake. It's kind of, I would have suggested pretty flush in the head just based on if the visor got him. I mean, it's not just a glancing blow at that point. It was enough to push his visor onto his I think it was around his cheekbone or upper, maybe a little bit. Yeah. So either way, the hit itself, I don't think there was any malice. I know the guy's last name is Tkachuk. He got an elbowing penalty. I've watched it again. It happens. But I understand that his last name's Tkachuk, and so people automatically think it's a dirty hit.
Well, it was clearly reckless. It was a reckless elbow.
Right. It was just
flying like that. But he got what you get in the NHL for a reckless elbow, typically.
Yeah. I don't think it deserved much more than that. I mean, the way that they've been looking at hits, anyways, this year, it takes a lot to get suspended or even fined. So.
And you couldn't prove intent on this one. It wasn't obvious. So.
No, I mean, Brady was, he was kind of back, right? His back was turned to Wheeler. Wheeler was coming around him. Brady had his elbow up, and Wheeler kind of ran into it.
You probably know Wheeler's coming behind you, so you're
sure. Yeah,
No,
it'd be hard to prove intent on that one, of course.
Sure.
But obviously, big loss, and we'll talk about that. Obviously,
clearly, big loss. The lineup change then. I'm a little surprised that Paul Maurice isn't just bumping Mason Appleton up a line, sticking to his right wing side, keeping the Copp-Lowry tandem, which is a nice tandem together on line 3.
Yeah.
And then bumping someone up from line 4 to there, or even moving Jansen Harkins right off the taxi squad up into line 3. He's not doing that.
No.
Instead, he's moving Copp across from his left to right side, up on the Dubois line with Stastny. And it's a domino effect. Matthew Perreault goes up from line 4 to line 3, then in Copp's spot, and then Jansen Harkins from taxi squad to line 4. So I'm surprised that's the route he's going, especially when he said Andrew Copp doesn't have any experience on the right side. How about you?
Yeah, Andrew Copp's the Swiss Army knife, right? You put him anywhere, and he's kind of the new version of Matthew Perreault in the sense that you can put him into that top 6 and still expect. I think they're doing it partly because it doesn't stray away from what that second line kind of is, which is kind of a hard-nosed, talented line.
But okay. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, Blake Wheeler plays one direction type of game, well, both directions, north and south. But it's a power game, and Andrew Copp can play that power game. And
but doesn't Appleton fit into that too?
I think he does, but at the same time, again, if you're taking, here right now, you're taking from somewhere, and you got to fill it with something. So, it's very much possible these lines don't last the first period. It really depends on how it pans out.
That's always
You had 1 day of practice with these lines, which for the Jets is a blessing these days, given that their schedule. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't think Paul Maurice is married to these lines by any means. But so we'll see what happens with I think you want to get a look at what Dubois might look like with Andrew Kopp, even though it's on his off wing. I understand that. Pro moves into the third line. He plays that style that Kopp can play. I would just say at a slower pace in terms of straight line speed, but tenacious on the forecheck. Obviously, will back check. Good defensive. And it has played with Lowry, so I don't think you have any issues there. I think the issue for me is the kind of cascading effect that happens once you get down to the fourth line, because that fourth line right now has not taken minutes from the top line, but they have essentially. I mean, that is what they have done in a good way, to preserve those top couple lines in terms of how much they get played over the course of this season, especially with how compact the thing is. Now you're putting in a guy who you might not trust the same way as you would a pro with Nate Thompson and Trevor Lewis on that line. So does the fourth line minutes now drop from 10 a night to 5? Does that kind of get cut in half? That's the thing that I'm interested in, and it's not because the fourth line is super integral, in the same way that top two lines are, but in the way that Paul Maurice can spread out the minutes. I think that's where you're going to see the biggest change because of Blake Wheeler being out. And it's likely he's going to miss all 5 games on this road trip due to the fact.
Let's get into that here briefly. Yeah. I mean, even if, let's say, they have a diagnosed concussion.
Mm-hmm.
Although when your head is fuzzy after getting hit in the head, it's automatically.
Well, and Paul Maurice said they are assuming that he's dealing. You're going through the same things you would if you had a concussion, right?
Sure. What you don't know is the severity, of course, and how long symptoms last is the bottom line.
Yep.
And then you need some time after that to sort of clear the protocol.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure exactly what that is, but because of the flight situation now, because the team charters, of course, Wheeler's not on that charter today, Thursday.
Yep.
Good chance he's got to miss this entire 5-game road trip because commercial flying is a no-go.
Yeah.
Without a quarantine after. You read it that way as well. Paul didn't come out and say that.
No.
But put much into that, right?
But almost. I mean, he almost said that they're not, like, the way that I read what Paul said when I asked him. Okay. So first of all, I wanted to know what the procedure was. I already kind of knew it, but I was trying to fish a little bit there to see if they would.
Good thing you did. Yeah.
Would they try and get him on a private jet over to Ottawa, Toronto, wherever it might be, if they need him to. I think if Paul, if Blake Wheeler got out of protocol tomorrow, then yeah, probably they would. But at the same time, there's also the argument that you could be like, well, here's 5 games where Blake Wheeler can also have a good rest, and it could be beneficial going ahead for the playoffs. I don't think Blake Wheeler's ready to go tomorrow if he's just starting to experience symptoms today.
No, exactly.
So I don't see it happening. I think if they get into game 3 and he's not ready, they're not going to be calling any private jet company to get him out there. I don't think. I mean,
for a couple games.
You're going to, yeah, exactly. Right. I think you play at a back-to-back on this trip. If I'm not mistaken, maybe I'm wrong on that. I'd have to double check the schedule, but maybe it depends on how the road trip's going too, right? And you lose the first 2 games, and Blake is good.
That's not an issue, I don't think.
Maybe not. Maybe not. I mean,
number one, and
well, of course, yeah. No, I'm just saying if out, like, you lose 2 games in Montreal, and Blake Wheeler's good to go, maybe you get him on that plane. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of. I think for the captain, they would probably do it. But at the same time, I just don't see him maybe being out of it right away. And, he's going to have to skate here and figure it out. They'll have to do there's a lot of stuff to go through, right? So
there is. And concussion protocol itself is got to be at least a few days of symptom free, right?
Yeah. Well, and
his
the other
symptoms-
thing
I
to
should
do,
clarify, his symptoms started maybe Tuesday, I think Paul told us, and
yeah.
continued today.
The other thing, it'd be interesting, and I don't know if they did. I haven't seen a PR tweet at all, but they didn't. They haven't put Blake on the IR, and they don't have anybody else. They didn't add anybody to the lineup. I mean, well, they pulled Christian Vesalainen off the taxi squad to come up, but I think they had a spot already.
Took him from the Moose, put him on the taxi
Moose to
squad.
put on to the taxi squad, right? So he'll be traveling, but they haven't put him on the active roster yet.
Harkins, have they put Harkins on their active roster yet? But no,
no. But I imagine, they'll just do that tomorrow. And Wheeler will go out onto the. I assume if Wheeler's not going to play, we'll know in the next couple of days because they'll put him on IR and then open up another roster spot for them on the active roster. So,
sure. So of course, what this does now for Thursday in Montreal, we've got two teams now losing key players, right?
Yeah.
Both teams, Brendan Gallagher out for the Habs, and possibly goalie Carey Price, I understand. So.
Yeah, I mean, huge boon for the Jets not to have to play potentially against both of those guys. At the same time, and Brendan Gallagher's been that thorn in the side for the Jets, and he's got 4 goals, 6 points in their games this season so far. And he's been the guy that's, I mean, he's the pest out there, but he gets to the Jets and he's effective. It's not that he's just, effective at being a pest. He can also put it in the back of the net, create goals, that sort of thing. He's a good player. Brad Marchand is kind of who I would, and so here's a guy that, who's kind of been a bit tortured you a little bit this year. Now you don't have to play him, and then maybe you get to have to play Jake Allen on the second half of a back-to-back tomorrow night because Montreal plays on Wednesday night. If you're watching this on Thursday, the Montreal it plays tonight or Wednesday night in Toronto, and then it obviously has to welcome the Jets on the Thursday night. So, I mean, I think there will be no excuses for the Jets to come out and play a certain way, especially with all those factors.
Well, they've been remarkably healthy, so to deal with some of this now, you're right. Not time to pull at the crutch and say, "Oh, of course, we lost our captain." It's standard procedure in the National Hockey League. You lose somebody, so.
Yep.
All right. That's another edition of Jet Setting. We'll do this again and find out. Maybe the next time we do this in a week, Blake Wheeler's back. Maybe he's not. We'll touch on that in about a week. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Scott.